Thanks for staying with us. Yesterday, news broke about the death of a former Big Brother Nigeria contestant, Rico Swavey. He died in Louth after an auto crash. What was more disheartening, aside from the fact that he died, was moments before his death, he was being recorded by some nurses who were attending to him. We did see from the video that went viral that he was using the oxygen mask and obviously was being attended to on a chair. Sadly, one of the nurses seemed to have been recording while another was cautioning her to stop recording because somebody obviously needs urgent attention. Now, this brings a conversation of how we're treated in our teaching hospitals, in our hospitals generally. And for this to even happen in Lagos State in itself, because many people believe that at least you're in Lagos, hopefully you get better care. So, and since this report, Lagos State government has officially said they will probe into that video and find out what happened. And we're expecting that some kind of disciplinary action will be taken against these nurses. But somebody has died. And there are lots of things that can be said concerning this. What are your thoughts on the behavior of the nurses, the action of the government, and the possibility or the reality that this is what we face in the matter of emergencies? This was an emergency, and you would think that for an emergency, things will be done in a different kind of way. What are your thoughts on this video? Let's hear your thoughts. You can call us on 081-2705-3687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. It's quite disheartening that we keep having these conversations over and again. You know, we've had where people are taken to the hospital and
abandoned.
These things happen. They said there's no bed. Here we saw there was a bed. There was actually an empty bed. So
two beds.
There were two beds. This was done in the video. What are your thoughts when you saw this video? Let me start with you, Nemo.
Okay, so before I even talk about how we respond to emergencies, I don't know whether we have lost our sense of humanity. You know, everything is content. Everything is story. Everything, because you could hear from that video, one of the nurses say, see some, come, make we put her for bed now. This person had just been involved in an accident that was ghastly, and he was rushed down. The little, maybe few chances of survival was what you were using to make a video. As in, body not the pepper us again. Somebody was not pinned. What can we do? What more can we do for, for this person, this last moment? Maybe he would survive. And so one of the nurses already gloved, another person already gloved. They were both waiting, needing assistance to put him on the bed. And one person thought, why you people are waiting? Just give me a chance. It's an actor. And that person made the video a few seconds long. I think on my phone, it was 39 seconds or so. And she continued to make that video. And if you had just 39 seconds more of chances of survival, that time don't go.
That could have made a difference.
It could have made a difference. So we're going to come back to how we respond to emergencies, accidents, and how we carry the bodies, the way we juggle. Because, in late May, I had my relative slum at home. And there was no way ambulance can come. We were deadlocked in traffic. There was nothing that could have been done. So we had to carry, and the only available car was a sports car, only one door. Hey, somebody that big, we had to smuggle.
That already puts risk
into that place. To do a one-way, we needed to get an exemption. We couldn't have done that, so we went against the one-way to get to the hospital. So by the time we got to the hospital, it was coma. There was nothing that could have been done, So we need to talk about how we respond to emergencies.
Okay, let me come to you, Bisi, because go ahead, Bisi. Your thoughts on this video.
That video was so disheartening because I used to think that people who opted to become nurses and caregivers were people who truly cared for humanity. You will not wake up and say, I want to become a nurse or I want to become a doctor when you don't care for humanity. It's that care that is usually the first driving force that pushes you into that industry. And when you naturally have care and love for humanity, there are certain things you will not do. I personally do not understand where you will have your phones with you in an emergency. That is an aberration of that profession, and that has to be looked into. There are some professions that when you are at work, your phones are kept away because you need your full concentration. What if you're giving somebody injection and your phone rings and they say your mother is failing in the house? Do you understand?
Yes.
It affects your ability to be effective in what you
Focus.
do. So you must focus. I don't know why they have their phones in an emergency. That's one. Secondly, like she said, we are now so conscious of content that anything and everything just becomes, you know, your stage to just show, just post. I was the first person to treat this person. I recognize him as an actor. Let me just post. And you forget the crux of the matter, which is trying as much as possible to save his life. That window, if they had taken it, may have made a huge difference in this person's life. So those nurses should be sanctioned. They have no business being in an emergency. And how we even carry out emergencies? I've gone to places and I've seen emergencies, and people don't move. Me and my American films, so if you should pardon me, when we see emergencies in these movies, you see the speed. Everybody's on their toes. Everybody's moving. Get the ambulance. Get the left lift. Let's get the stretcher. Everybody is moving. The speed is just so accurate. And when I come here and I see emergencies here, it seems like, put him there. Let him sit down. Let him do this. I'm coming. Please, madam, don't disturb me. Madam, don't disturb me. There's no space. Don't. And tempers are rising. People are not professional. I don't know. Yeah. How did we get to this point?
Okay, let me come to Tokoyemi, because I was going to respond to you, but let me hear your thoughts first on this, on what happened and the video. And
so, what are the key indices for human development? What are the key indices that shows the society is developed? Is the life expectancy. The quality of life people get to live in your community shows that their development. It might not be how wealthy, but the quality. Education, you know, access to justice when you need it. Three key things that we don't need anybody. It's not political for you to say we failed in these three. The value for human life, that was what we saw. Yeah. We don't value human life. And sadly, people who should value human life, most of them have seen so many deaths on a daily basis that they are not moved. So it's like, this person, the way they do it, they say go die. That, you know, like, this one don't go already. You know, and we've heard it. And I use general hospitals. Nima and I are, this is our line of where we seek help. And I can tell you for a fact, it is the culture. It is not a one-off. It is not a sad thing. This is the culture. The culture is, you bring your patient, you are the one that will probably, it might not even be a nurse doing that video. That's the truth. It might be one of Rico's people or an intern. And they need the help of that person to carry, because I've been in an hospital situation after an accident, and we were the ones carrying. The attendants at the scan place said, you better get 3 people to come and carry you. We cannot carry this one. That's a human being alive trying to get scanned. And you say, we cannot carry this one. So we have to start getting someone to help us to lift then she was 11, lift this girl on to get scanned. This is the culture of, I'm just doing the bare minimum to get my pay and go. You cannot come and kill me. I'm not your government. It's not me that caused your problem. Carry your wallet and go. How was this person driving safe? They go don't drink. They drive anyhow for road. So we don't value human life, and it has created a culture where caregivers are not really caring. They are just barely doing the minimum. You
know, this is quite painful, because the reason why it's quite painful for me, because I have experienced the exact opposite. And I've shared this story before, where my 3-year-old, Michael, one of my twins, was 3 years, now he's 8, so about 5 years ago, in this same country, where I just coincidentally got a phone number from Akade, was talking about some doctor. I said, just give me the doctor's number, just in case I have an emergency. It was a doctor not so far from my house. And it was 2 a.m. My son stopped breathing, practically. His head just rolled off. And myself and my husband scampered. We called the doctor at 2 a.m. He said, bring that child. And we were running. We drove the car. The gate was locked. We carried him, and we were running with our pajamas. As we were entering in this Lagos, they were waiting for us with a stretcher, with the gas mask, everything. At the reception, they were waiting for us outside. The gateman knew we were coming. They opened the doors wide. I was shocked. I'm like, I'm in Nigeria. This was a local hospital, not one big hospital. So this is an human life. This is one doctor who said, well, I called, said, I'm coming. As we came in, they put that boy on the stretcher. At the reception, they revived him. We were there scabashing. But the point is, these are human beings who are being insensitive. And when we are venting, let us make sure that these people are brought to book and we change individuals. Because the systems are there, the hospitals are there. They might not have all the infrastructure, but we, the people, must change the way we do it.
Let me add a little to your experience. I remember, I've noticed a disparity in how doctors and nurses behave in Nigeria. I don't know about another country here. There's always this genuineness I see from doctors. I would want to say maybe because they are not really that overwhelmed, whatever excuse it is anyway, but they treat you better than the nurses treat you. I have noticed that. I remember when I was having my last daughter in the hospital, they had checked me, I was in labor, I had started, and they could not, the baby's head got stuck because she was so big. The scan did not show us exactly the weight. So I just bounced in the way I used to bounce in for the other two, and felt I'll just do and I'll come out. And she got stuck. Now, instead of these nurses to recognize that there's a crisis and get a doctor, they were arguing amongst themselves. Some were praying. They were like in my state of pain and everything. They were using their hand everywhere. I was screaming. Thankfully, my mother-in-law was in the labor room. I and that baby would have died. She was in the labor room and she started screaming, "We want a doctor! We want a doctor!" Immediately, the doctor came. Because I had suggested to them, because I'm very lucid when I'm, birthing my babies, I suggested to them that, press this place for me. Help. They said, no, these days, they're not the help. I said, press this place for me. I don't born two now. Then they press here. Help me. He said, no, they're not the help. Immediately, doctors came. They just tore me open. Two of them held this place. And this baby came out and broke her left arm. So, because they were given that responsibility, probably they didn't want to call a doctor, so it wouldn't look like they're incompetent.
You should have sued.
I wanted to. Oh, guy is the peacemaker in the family. Left for me, I would have sued.
You should have sued.
The whole place. I was fuming.
Because your baby came up.
Yes, came and still today, she's still doing physiotherapy to get that hand functioning properly.
Imagine that in this country.
So when it comes to doctors, you call the doctor and you see the response. If you call a personal nurse, probably that owns her own place, because she wants to keep you as a customer, it's different. But when you now move into the general hospitals and the other hospitals where you come to their comfort zone, where they're already comfortable, now small, we're going to do our work, nobody should come and stress us. That's when you see the true character.
Let me go on a break. When we come back, we take some phone calls. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So I must correct the fact that this did not happen at Luth. Initially, the report that I had access to still had Luth. But I've been able to get the updated version, which is very clear that the unprofessional conduct that we just expressed happened at Durham Hospital in Ajah. And it was the staff, it was the nurses there that were recording this video, not Luth. Because people just went on and Luth was trending. I guess maybe that's why the report initially came in as Luth. But it was not Luth. It was at a private university, private hospital, Durham Hospital in Ajah. Okay, so let's take a few calls. Hopefully some calls will come in, but let's take a few tweets on this.
The Lagos State government has also opened the investigation into the unprofessional conduct of the staff of the hospital that led to this video and the trend. Luth official is also saying they saw that Luth and Lasut were trending and that these were their hospitals. But let's talk about what happens in those hospitals too. So you come in with an emergency and you only have student doctors attending to you. These are student doctors who are also learning, and probably everybody is an experiment guinea pig. And in your own case, you have a serious case on your hands. So my experience recently when my mom had an issue and went to a general hospital was that I was annoyed, because by the time I left the show, I met them at the hospital, I was pained at the people I was seeing. In fact, they were guessing between themselves until one person now came and said, okay, this is the injection to give. Sometimes, even if these students are allowed to train and you have cases you're overwhelmed, let there be at least one adult doctor spotting out cases.
You've gone to Canada. Okay.
No, then if you start to shake table now, they come out. That's the painful part.
So, the thing I notice is, I don't know how we are going to ingrain, not just for these sort of profession, but for everybody in the country, because I'm seeing a pattern of Nigerians not being able to show empathy. Some people don't even understand what it means to show empathy. And that's not sympathy. Hey, yeah, sorry, it happened to you. Empathy is different, where you put yourself in that person's shoes at that moment. how do we begin to teach, especially these people who are going to be handling the lives of people? What sort of trainings do they have in the schools? So we can design. So when you pick a problem, you notice a problem in the community. You don't just go to school and come back and then start practicing what you have learned in school. You should understand your environment as, okay, what is the problem we have in this culture? Okay, there's not much empathy. How can we design courses? How can we design trainings that will help our nurses to have more empathy for the people that they are caring for? And that means that when we start complaining like this, when we see some of these irregularities, they will put it into their, okay, our nurses need to stand out. We need you to have an experience when you come into the hospital, because you're going to bring more customers for us. That hospital, they give you care, they give you this, they give you that. Imagine if it was one of their spouses that was brought into the hospital, or one of their children. Would they have the time to be doing Photoshop or photo shoot while the person is? Do you understand? That's what empathy does for you. Can we add that to the curriculum they already have, because they don't have it? I've never seen a nurse that has empathy. I'm sorry, I'm generalizing here, but I'm coming from a place of pain.
Let me take this call. Let me take this call because Dr. Nnamdi is on the call with us. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
How are you?
So you're a basic
Right,
life support
thank you.
expert. Tell us a bit about what could have done to save this man's life.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to commiserate with the family of the deceased. At this point, we're talking about the dead. Yes, we live in a social media society, which is somehow unfortunate. So I would like to limit my contribution towards the young man that died. I like to look at emergency as a holistic point of view. For us at Doctors of the Life Foundation, we view ignorance at the scene of an accident, so emergency, as an accelerating factor towards the death of the victim. And when you are talking about emergency, it could happen anywhere. Recently, we are carrying a campaign to, I had one of your colleagues there made a very fantastic contribution about emergencies and what to do and the rest of them. We're looking at life expectancy of Nigerians. At the moment, we are struggling between 54 and 55. Not even some countries. I could mention several of them that are doing 60, 70, and the rest of them. So today, promoting total health was a part of knowledge. That's what we're doing. And how do you do that? You look at emergency. It will come through heart attack, heart failure, cardiac arrest, and these things differ. Heart attack is different from cardiac arrest, and it's different from heart failure. You don't need to be a medical doctor to be able to handle emergency. That's the point I want to make. You don't need to be a medical doctor.
Right.
As a basic life support expert, I don't need to be a doctor to know about cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Should these things, like my friend Moria said, happen 2 a.m. in the morning, and you don't have doctor around you, what are you going to do?
Dr.
I was in a mall recently and I asked the
Dr.
gentleman,
Austin, I want you to help
should there
us.
be an emergency and somebody collapse here, what are you going to do? He said, all men will take off. In fact, he used their next day. Boom, it's better than, what did they say? It's better than what the police said. It's better than giving
Dr.
an
Austin,
evidence.
because of time.
And that's
Dr. Austin, first, because of time, give us an idea of what should be the emergency response in a situation where an accident victim, what the video we saw of this young man sitting on the chair, what was being done to him, and what should have been done to him?
A bit delayed.
Hello, sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you get my question?
Okay, when there is an emergency, like an accident, there are a few things you're going to do. First of all, safety is very important. If the accident occurs, you have to, you that is going to handle the emergency, your safety is also very important. You have to bring the victim out from that scene, and in handling that, you're also going to be careful. Sometimes these emergencies could lead to something like spinal cord injury. The way you lift a spinal cord injury patient to the stretcher is different from the way you leave other ones. These things are very important. Should there be issue of cardiac arrest, which will occur at any place, there are stages you are going to use. You could be able to bring the person to safety, which is the first one, in safety. Second, response system, which to ask the person a simple truth. That is after you protected yourself. Protecting yourself could be through your clothes, could be if you don't have gloves, you could use your hand care and the rest of them. Detect whether there is non-responsiveness. I'm talking about your home, accident scene or whatever. If you are a little bit knowledgeable, you check the port. If those things are not there, non-responsiveness of the port is a very good indication that this person is into cardiac arrest. You start your CPR, which is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. What Health Organization said, 10 seconds after you discover this, start those compressions. Compression is between your breastbone and the open holes there. And make sure you learn how to do this compression properly so that it doesn't go into internal injury of the person you are trying to help. If you can also do the mouth-to-mouth respiration, this is very important. But I want to make this point because we're going into the 24th century. You may not have anybody at any point that will help in the CPR. You may not have anybody in the rural areas to help in terms of emergency. We are employing technology. There's a gentleman in Port Harcourt now who is coming up first in Nigerian history with a technological hub that wherever you are in the village, with or without data, and there are emergencies, there are first ever, is there now, equipment and machines that you can climb upon and get put in safe help. There are apps that have been developed that people can use and have in common language that people can be able to use to revive their loved ones.
All right, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's go on a break. We'll be right back. So we're still discussing this matter. Nima, you're going to say something.
So I got a message from Arab. It says that in 2017, he had an accident in Kogi on his way to Abuja, and that instead of people to save them, Nigerians were making videos and they were stealing from them. So it brings the question to us Nigerians. Because I was looking for a better way to disagree with BC's analogy of nurses and doctors. To bring it out to personalities. I spent 6 months in the hospital with Imran's pregnancy, and I saw amazing doctors, I saw nasty doctors, but I saw nasty nurses, I saw amazing nurses. I remember that one of those nurses would sit with me till 11 p.m. Whenever she's doing her book, she'll bring it by my bed, she'll help my morale, she'll boost my morale, she'll give me pep talk. She didn't have to do that, but she just knew that my journey was long and that I needed inner strength to carry it on. And till tomorrow, I call her Yaya, and we are close friends. Yeah. You know, that's a person. That's one person. If you bring it down to attitude, you will see it on the road. If a Nigerian is on the road and an ambulance is blowing their siren, we will block him. We will sit in traffic and block him. This one, I still talked about it recently on the show. I was pained. But if a bullion van was coming, we will branch off. If we don't know the VIP who is going to the airport, along Oshodi, we will branch off because we don't want to be beaten. But once it's an ambulance or fire engine, fire truck trying to save lives, we will be doing, if I go, somebody will enter my front. I don't get it. We don't understand how important they who are going to save lives are. They were responding to a fire somewhere in Festac before they could access that place. Another wahala entirely because of Nigerians.
We, myself, and I. It's me that
It's a selfishness.
Some boys will say, we're happy in the fire. Because they are stealing, they will prevent the people, the fire truck who is trying to actually end the fire.
But interestingly, just yesterday, very similar story. Interestingly, I was driving out of in Maryland. They know what the Maryland Comprehensive is, going into that where that traffic light is. And so some era boys, stopping cars. And the woman was trying to, maybe she was scared of them, trying to push, and they forced her to stop. And guess what? They were stopping her because there was an ambulance coming on the opposite. She didn't see, and she was about to run the man over. And the thing that because they didn't communicate, but there are some good Nigerians who see that, listen, there's an ambulance coming, for whatever reason, the ambulance didn't have the siren. So they knew that
maybe they had intelligence on what was happening. Yes. The emergency was responding to.
They are good Nigerians.
But the one that is the siren is blaring. And you decide that if one person go,
so because we are seeing cases where sirens are empty and they are blowing sirens.
Wouldn't you take the chance?
Take the chance. Take the chance that they're just carrying specimen.
That's a lesson that we must all decide to implement now. We have all heard. It might be you in the siren, or it might be your brother or your daughter they're trying to go and pick. Yeah. Let's respect the siren. There's another thing that I believe is a lesson we can learn from this. We must start litigation. even if it will take 20 years to go through that process, litigation seen to the end will help strengthen our system.
Yes.
People shouldn't get away with doing the wrong things.
We need Clash on Act. One person is always difficult. But we have that
Class action.
Class action. Where everybody comes together and say, okay, we are all of us have
It's
experienced
still a
this
whole
thing.
lot. Yes, we might be able to get there, but one person that's experienced the ineptitude or like the doctor's negligence, take them to court. We should stop saying God will judge, God will fight for me, God has, at least I have my child, or at least we did not die. There was a case of one woman, the caterer, that she bakes, that she lost her life in the midst of inefficiency between the medical staff. And we're not seeing where that case is going to, because we don't want to seem like we're bringing a business down. But when when one hospital or one doctor or one nurse, a few of them are being made a scapegoat, others will sit up. Sometimes that is another line of action to help prevent.
Okay, the justice system takes forever.
Yeah, 20
Going
years.
back,
We'll
20
do
years.
it.
Going on and on.
It will
And then
do
your
it.
whole family,
Or we wait.
your whole family will now suffer. Because I mean, people think about what are the various factors that will affect me. I'm going to spend money.
Yes,
My family
I'll be
will
going there all
they'll
the
be going
time.
there all the time. But I
that's
don't live like
the enjoyment that Nigerians are going to enjoy in diaspora is because some people suffer for you.
Yeah.
They suffer the suffer you don't want to suffer in your country. The suffer that you feel is not comfortable here. Some people suffered it years
strengthen
back
their
for you to
institution.
enjoy
What
what
you
you
are
are
getting
enjoying
now.
over there. So those of us that we are here, we must decide that we must fight that battle to the end.
Let me take a call from Stephen. I'll come to you, busy. Good morning, Stephen. Are you there? Malakuko. Oh. Hello, Stephen. Are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's so sad to hear this that happened, but I just want to correct an impression. Like this is it, talking about empathy. In every field, we have good, bad, and we have our experiences too. Not these, especially government hospitals, have seen where nurses stand by you, help you even more than the doctors. But we still have to take to cognizance the fact that these people are, they are having more than they can care for at the time. So I keep calling on our government to do something. To still bounce back to our government, our system. In fact, the guy that died, even if every people have been in place, he can still die. But a very sad one indeed. God bless his soul. In Paris. Thank you.
Let's take a comment on social media.
Yes, so Kike Adio says, the day I really understood this was when my son was in an ambulance and we're driving from Ikorodu Road to VI. I was in tears. People hardly allowed the ambulance to go through. Ever since I changed. Atolokwe said, I don't know why we don't make use of Lagos State Emergency Code in case of emergency. 112. It works for me all the time, and they have qualified nurses and other health workers that carry out their work. That's fantastic. 112. So I think we should just register it in our brains.
We know 112.
We know
Everybody knows 112.
Yeah, thank you for... Do you use it?
We've used it a few times. So in the early days, it worked.
Yeah,
But after
so-
a while, we started, they will be keeping you on hold for a long time.
But somebody now just said it's working, so let's go back to it. So Jamil says, thank you very much, ladies, for discussing this topic. I want to emphasize the role of proper training for healthcare workers and litigation for malpractices and negligence. So just a quick one before you go ahead. I was in Singapore, and we went to a garden, one of the flower gardens. I was about to take pictures. Take a video, so you know the way I used to do my catwalk and stuff. So a guy was holding camera, and I was catwalking. Do you know that all the white people that were coming behind stopped
Because they
For me.
respected.
to catwalk and twist and turn, and then they finished. I didn't even realize what happened till I posted the video, and somebody spotted it and like, white people stopped for you to take. Nigerians don't care. You are doing that picture, they will be walking. They're not send you. And that is what. No, hold on. No. Just listen to. Follow the mindset of the people. Right. They understood what I was doing, and they gave me the time to do it. When we see people do stuff like that, we don't care. We are very selfish. It's all about me, and that is what reflects on every other thing that we do.
Well, you said that dancing in public. Are you not doing me? Don't say I want to download this stop.
I came to a beautiful place to enjoy the scenery, and they respected that fact.
Okay.
It's courtesy. Let us have courtesy for our people.
Okay, we have to go on a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. As we wrap up on this, I think it's more of the lessons. So there are two parts of it. There's the negligence of the hospital, now that we need a private hospital. And there's also the fact that
Humanity part.
the humanity,
Yeah.
empathy, the fact that we don't care for each other. And we've also discussed this on different angles, where in different ways too, we do the same thing in different ways. So yes, she's there. These are nurses. But tomorrow, it could be drivers, it could be conductors, it could be bike men, it could be anybody. We all do the same thing in different. It could even be even the people in the office, receptionists, office executives. We all do it in different ways, where we don't care. It's about me, myself, and I, my own promotion. I don't care whose ox is God. I'm going for it because, I mean, I was telling somebody, you know what I was telling me that, Demora, you have to be very careful because everybody's a dog-eat-dog world. Nobody's caring about you. So focus on you and don't care about left. Just look straight. This one was advising me, you know, because that's what the world has come to. We don't care. I don't care for you. You don't care for me. We're all just focusing on ourselves. That's what's happening here.
And the
They
ones
don't
that
care.
get beaten. I have somebody now that I'm handling issue. He has been caring for all his subordinates for a very long time, and they keep biting him back to back to back. I'm tired of talking. I said, can you just act like a proper boss and don't care for once? He said, that's not how I'm wired.
That's not his wired.
Worst case scenario, I'll carry my bag.
That's where I wanted
He's
to
insisting on being himself, which I've seen it over time. You know, there's always a backlash on him being a good human being. And I'm tired because it still falls on my table and he's saying, this is who I am. Worst case scenario, I carry my bag.
For some of us, it's easy to exist in that dog world. For some people,
They can't.
I cannot exist like that.
We must start taking care of it. And we must call out.
There's a standard I hold myself, which is that, you know, I have not encroached on your rights. I cannot live in a dog world. I can't. I just can't. So when you have, I sleep better with a clear conscience. Even if it's a small cup of water I drink, I'm fine.
Better.
But if I drink big bowl of everybody's food, I'm sure something else will happen. So it's not easy like that.
I'll just say that we must all take responsibility for our part that we play in this scheme of things, and we should respectfully call out when we see something wrong going on. Doctor, that what you did is wrong. No, you shouldn't talk. You shouldn't say that. As in, let's lovingly correct one another, because some people are simply acting based on what they know and all they have seen and how they have been taught in the system. So they have acclimatized. But when they begin to see a different trend, it's like when people are running the red lights and one person stops. Check it. A few people will stop behind that person because they feel, okay, if others are running, more people will run. So let's begin to model the right things so that we can begin to change the way people are behaving in our environment.
Let me just add something to it. Yes. So, you know, she mentioned that it could also be a matter of personality, which I agree. Some personalities are more caring than other personalities. That's fantastic. But there's what they call a spirit-controlled temperament. You start, you know, dropping some of those things that are not very fine. You know, start fine-tuning, start pruning your personality. So if you're someone who is, for instance, I know that cholerics are, when they want to get it, they can drag anybody down. I've seen amazing cholerics who will be lifting people up as they're still going for their goals. So can we try and adjust that? And this training is very important. These nurses and doctors need to be trained and retrained with psychologists, not just to understand the job, how to choke needle and back. They need to be mentally evaluated from time to time, because most of them have seen a lot of deaths. They are traumatized. They don't have good pay. All these things come in when you are working. If you're working in an environment where it's not conducive for you, you will transfer some sort of aggression, and the patients are at the receiving end. So if we have people who keep mentally reevaluating, patting them on the back, reassuring them that they are doing good, maybe we'll see, because those places we go to and we see nurses smiling at us, and because they are well taken care of.
Let's not forget very important that they are not overwhelmed at work. So you can't put somebody on the 48-hour shift. Whatever kind of shift, let them be proper. For doctors too, because I saw a doctor just slump on the patient in the hospital when I was in the hospital. He had been overworked, been in surgery.
There's a part of this we've not talked about, and I think I like to remember that especially when Nigerians travel abroad and they don't have their papers, one of the things that the family members tell you, you can't get sick. You don't have papers. We don't have insurance for you. Don't go and get headache. If you have headache, go and sleep. If you're having fever, just go and take water. Well, no, because you don't have papers.
You can't buy drugs anyhow.
You can't buy drugs.
It's expensive.
It's expensive to take care of. You don't have papers. So watch yourself. You live in a country, Nigeria, our medical system is not top-notch. We are not, if that happens to you today, you don't know, you're going to probably end up like that. So you yourself, Mawari, how do you say it in
Watch
English?
yourself.
Watch yourself. Don't just be partying all night and say, oh, I'm not. Accidents can happen, even in your own comfort of your house.
You can
Accidents
stay in your
happen.
house, aeroplane come and hit
Yeah,
you.
that's Nigeria for you. But the one that avoid all those excesses.
As
You just
much
never
as
know.
you can.
As much as possible. Because if anything happens to you, there's no emergency 911 coming to pick you up.
Hey.
There's nobody coming to come and do CPR for you.
Hey.
So just know that you're on your own.
Jesus.
So in Nigeria, just they do
Can't
you go party, look left, look right. Before you cross, look, just be careful because if you go abroad today, right, remind you that you don't have insurance. Don't go and get sick. Don't say there's no situation that will take you to hospital because you don't have paper. I can't be send my house because you want to go to hospital. So we should be careful. This is a country where we are not there yet medically in our medical system. So as much as possible, our teenagers, our young adults who are having fun and partying, drinking all night, thinking like, hey.
Take precautions.
Please, I'm not saying this is what happened in this case, but let us
saying.
just be careful. That's all we can take. We have to run. Yes, have a few messages. Go ahead, Nima.
Gumola Emmanuel said, nursing is not just a profession, it's a calling. The emergency care structure of hospitals in Nigeria is generally poor and should be looked into because nothing seems to change. We have some of the best doctors and nurses in the world, for God's sake. And Liki says, I cannot understand why nurses go through a training to aid and care for their patients but end up being cold and uncaring. As much as I don't subscribe to blanket judgment, this is a pattern experienced by far too many, and this narrative has got to change. This must be challenged.
Okay, that's all we can take on this segment. And I think in a nutshell, our hearts do go out to the families of this young man, Rico Swavey, and I pray that his soul rest in peace. It's really, really sad. A young man, very, very young man, just at the prime of his life, doing great things, and now this has happened. I just hearts go out to his family. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we talk about something else. Stay with us. We'll be back.